Hey everyone, so today we have a Stihl HS 81R. It's obviously a hedge trimmer, but yeah, the guy said that it runs, it starts, but it's really low on power and it plumes out blue smoke all the time. So, you know, he thought it can use a tune-up, which I kind of agree, it probably would need a tune-up at the very least. Cleaning the filter, new plug. Look at the gas. He says he uses it fairly routinely, so maybe the gas is okay, but I don't know if he's putting in bad gas. Maybe he bought like 5 gallons last year, just never really used all of it, but it is a professional, so I'm assuming that's not the case. However, either way, it's still going to be serviced a little bit. So what do we need to do? Well, I would usually show you what's doing, but it's just pluming blue smoke. I hurt my left arm, and it kind of hurt to start this. I don't really feel like hurting myself again, so I'm not going to show you, but just imagine kind of running on half choke, maybe 3/4 open. It doesn't sound like it is running right. And the reason why is this collection of 5 letters. That usually means that we have a spark arrestor problem. I don't know if we do, but I do want to at least check it out. A day or two later, let my arm heal up a little bit more, make it a little easier for me to do this, but take this tube off, just 2 screws. It's a very odd addition to that, but whatever. And down here is what we need to take out. That is the spark arrestor. And what do you know? I can get you in a better, closer shot. You see how this is just like grimy and you can't really see through it? What I'm going to do is I'm going to put it back in. And then I'm going to turn it on because I want to actually show the difference now that hopefully my arm's okay. And well, you kind of tell why I assumed this is the problem. Hopefully I don't regret doing this, but let's see here. Get this out of the way. Now I didn't put this back on because I didn't want to have to take it back off. But we are no choke right now. Let's put on choke. And on. So that's pretty much what it does. It gets pretty decent, but not all the way. And as you can tell, there's a lot of smoke, and from what I gathered last time, that doesn't ever really go away. And there's a reason for that. It's because it's burning too rich. Just like you can choke it from one side through the carb, you can choke it from the other side. I mean, theoretically, you could run a 2-cycle backwards if you really wanted to. A little difficult, but you can. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take out that spark arrestor and then we'll get it cleaned up. Okay, got this out. Take some MAP gas. This is the easiest way. Just do that until everything is nice and clean. You could potentially do this with propane, but I've never had too much luck with propane. You can also take carb cleaner and a brush and whatever you want to do, but the key is if you do it this way, you want to get it hot enough where the carbon burns. Okay, well, it's not red hot anymore. It's definitely very hot, but as you can tell, it's a lot better. Blow it off, let it cool. excuse me, get it red hot, let it burn, then let it cool, blow it off, see where you miss, keep doing that till it's nice and clean. And then now I'm just going to put it back in, connect the pipe back on there, and then we will give it a pull and see if that has fixed our problem. Got it all done. Everything's screwed back on nice and tight. Let's see if we even need the choke. Run a little bit. I would have run for about 10 minutes on a little of a higher RPM, not idle. Because if you would have just idle, we probably would be getting an excess amount of oil anyway. But I took out the fuel. Well, it's not horrible. It has some age to it. Now, excess smoke is going to result into, well, is a result of excess oil, which could be a rich mixture. It could be that you just mix too much oil in your fuel. You know, you never really know. I'm going to put about half a tank in there just so I can have the fuel filter fully submerged. Now, I drained the fuel out by just dumping it over, then priming it a couple times, getting the fuel out of the carb. That way it's sucking air. There's going to be a little in there, I mean, obviously, but you'll get most of it. And then at that point, you drain it again, take your air compressor, blow out the tank, and you should be pretty much out of fuel. Just to make sure, I'm going to over prime it, and because what it does, it sucks fuel through the carb and then pushes it back through, and the minuscule amount of okay fuel that was in there, it's going to be fine if I just put normal. Now, going back to that oil issue, some people are under the impression that more is better. I'm not saying less is better, but the right amount is better. The reason why is more, you can cause the excess amount of carbon to build up, and you have the problem that we just ran into. In addition, it can build up on your rings. Those rings then get stuck in the compressed position, and you lose compression. So that's bad. I mean, that is probably the best case scenario for lower compression and resulting, the ring issues. But having too low, of course, is obviously bad because it doesn't have enough lubrication. It will start to build up excess heat, scoring. That's not good. So the right amount in here is 50-1. Might be more like 48. It's a little hard because I mix it myself. I just put a dab extra, and that's going to allow me to not have to worry about the smoke, at least in excess. It will always smoke a little bit. I mean, especially these types of things when you're moving them and you're cutting and everything is going on and yada yada yada. You put it down, you're raking a few things up, it idles for a little bit. You're gonna have a little bit of smoke, but it should clear up pretty significantly. I'm gonna run for a little bit, about 5-6 minutes outside after putting a new fuel in there. In addition to that, I also did put a new plug in it. That was fun, being that it was running for 20 minutes. But it's done. So now you should see a significantly less amount of smoke, and you should hear it rev up a little bit easier and hopefully start easier. I guess it wasn't too hard, but So there you have it. Runs good, runs just how it should. The RPMs are at a nice level. There's no dead spots in the acceleration. He had also mentioned, whoops, let me take these out of the way of the wind, that it was just a little bit low on power as well. So I'm going to double check that, but that's a little hard to tell on what I'm going to trim it on. I mean, unless you're really trimming some thick brush or a really nasty like hedge, you know, it's going to be a little hard for me to test that. I don't really have a whole lot of those, to be honest, but I feel like what we've done is pretty good. The smoke is a lot better, the fuel is better, the spark arrestor is now clean. I also put a new air filter in there from the very beginning. I don't remember if I mentioned that, and it was still doing the exact same thing. Remember how I said you can choke it from both ends? Well, not only does your choke it, but your air filter will also choke it. Sometimes just keep it simple and it makes things a lot easier. Well, majority of this I'm assuming was actually just the spark arrestor, but as a whole it's running pretty good. Like 95% of it was because of the spark arrestor. That fuel was perfectly fine. It would have burned and whatnot, and the little smoke that is coming out of there right now will dissipate over a couple more, you know, cycles of using it for a fairly decent amount of time. But there's a real easy way of finding out if this is your problem. It's actually marked on the machine. Let me show you. If you see these collection, like I mentioned earlier, you probably have a spark arrestor problem. If it starts just fine, but it has little to no power and it's more of a gradual thing, don't just naturally assume it's the carb. Look at the spark arrestor. That goes for hedge trimmers, weed eaters, leaf blowers, chainsaws. Well, not chainsaws because they generally don't have them, but anything with a spark arrestor, check that. They're notorious for getting plugged up. Cannot tell you how many times I've had literally this exact thing happen. When someone brings it up, says it just can't rev, and that thing is plug solid. Okay, hope this helped you. Put a thumbs up, definitely subscribe. Catch you in the next video. Have a good night.